Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might be joining us from. A very warm welcome here to the Telerik Productivity release webinar for our Q2 2025 release. A lot of you may be new to our family of products. If so, very warm welcome. You might have heard about Progress Telerik DevGraph. That's our bundle for all the things we do all together. So you can see like we span pretty much the entire life cycle of application development, starting from design tooling to developing your apps, reporting on them, network debugging, you name it. We want to be your partner throughout the application lifecycle journey. And for those of you who already use our products, thank you for your patronage. And welcome on board, everybody. We appreciate your time spending with us here. This release is truly AI powered. We are trying to break new ground with developer productivity, trying to keep you in the context of what you are doing with your IDs wherever you're building your apps. So we have AI coding assistance for a lot of our developer tools. We have prompt-based styling and theming, which we'll talk about, and generative AI-powered assistance for reporting, document processing, all the things. So it's all about productivity. It's performance fine-tuning and lots of AI everywhere. Everything that Rick and me are going to talk about today, be it Fiddler, be it with reporting, all of this is based on the Q2 release. And there are multiple ways in which you folks get our stuff. So however it is that you do, please update, be it in the control panel, be it a NuGet package download or an NPM upgrade. However it is that you're getting the latest bits, that's what it's you're going to see things light up based on what Rick and me cover here. Let's dive into all things reporting. Rick, you ready?
So Telerik Reporting is Telerik's library for embedded reporting in applications. I guess the one line is it is a .NET-centric UI-agnostic library for all of your reporting needs. And you can pick that apart. .NET-centric, it has to run on some version of .NET on the back end, but UI-agnostic, lots of front-end utilities. So you bring your own architecture. We'll find a way to piece it together with what we offer. And really everything you need to build a custom reporting workflow in your own applications, as we call them, your integrated products.
Well said. That's like 20 years of investment in an elevator pitch, right? Okay,
More or
so
less.
yeah. So you get a lot with our reporting solution. Like Rick said, it's agnostic as to where you deliver, how you view your reports. That can be any platform that you can pretty much think of. You, as the creator of the report, have a lot of flexibility in how you design your reports as well. It can be, desktop solutions, can be full-on web-based solutions. You have full flexibility as to what type of data that you want to bring in. We'll talk about some of the newer advancements with different types of data that you can bring in now. So data binding, generating reports, all of that is very well thought out, and so is how you deliver the reports and what type of viewers you're using to make the reports shine. And for your end users, they have lots of choices in terms of what formats you deliver the reports in and how they shine. So again, Rick is going to talk through all of this very soon. But what I like is just how much flexibility we have in terms of the UI, the components in the reports that make your data shine.
I've never needed something that I haven't been able to, that isn't either provided or I've been able to easily adapt into reporting. And that's really amazing when you consider that there's a lot of extra meta information baked
Mm-hmm.
into each component that goes into a report. Information that's going to get used by the AI agent, which we'll talk about later, but things behind the scenes that give meaning to these funny shaped and colored triangles, that we as humans intrinsically understand, but machines don't necessarily know what this
Mm-hmm.
design primitive means.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, now you're talking about humans and machines trying to make sense of the same thing. So let's dive in. So generative AI insights in report preview. What does this all mean?
So, as you mentioned, Sam, this AI thing we've been hearing about is getting quite big. So we've had a lot of requests for some AI features for reporting, and one of the things we're adding is the Gen AI insights baked right into reporting. So imagine that you have a large report, a couple hundred pages, lots of charts, lots of graphs, lots of data, and you don't have a lot of time to make sense of it. Uh, something you might have done in the past is download that report to PDF, put it into some sort of external AI model, and ask it to analyze the report. But let's say that the AI model has your report has proprietary information in it. You can't necessarily put that into a public large language model without knowing exactly how that data is going to be used. Or with a PDF, as I mentioned before, a pie chart is just a primitive pie chart. It's just a circle, with some funny colored triangles in it. The AI model may or may not have any idea what that is. So what we were able to do is bake in a generative AI analytics into the report preview as part of the HTML5 report viewer, all the other report viewers as well. And really have a deep understanding of what's going on in your report by not only looking at the content of the report and the data, but the generated elements in the report and the meta information that's saved backing those elements. So what's the meaning of the pie charts and the graphs, and what is the backing data that is behind what you're seeing? Not just the visualization, but how was that produced? And this is something that will only get better, over time as we build more and more information into those meta models that support our reports.
Yeah, yeah, well said. I mean, why not sprinkle generative AI where it makes the most sense? Because you generate, 10 pages of a report, your CEO doesn't have the time to go through all of the details. He would or she would like to summarize, right? Or, make sense of certain trends in your data. So you want that deep contextual knowledge and be able to ask questions of it, like, what does this chart exactly mean? And to Rick's point, you absolutely do not want to take the PDF and just shove it to a different model publicly, because that might be sensitive data. So we are super happy to bring generative AI insights right inside of the report preview, so your flow doesn't need to be disrupted. We give you predefined prompts and any questions you want to ask of it. So very exciting. Theming. I want my reports to look a certain way. Can you help here, Rick?
Absolutely. So we've always had great theming for the reports themselves. It's a very design-centric utility, design first, code later, and it's really something that's report creation has always been great for people who have a design eye. Unlike myself. What we've recently did is at the conclusion of 3 years of development, were able to add the SaaS-based theming that we use in a lot of our UI elements now, which is powered by our visual theme builder, which again is a tool that's great for me, who someone who has very little design skill, to just play around in a WYSIWYG editor and create some great designs. So what this will do is, if you have a custom design system, a proprietary design story, or a custom theme for our Kendo components, or even something new just for reporting, now you'll have that cohesive aesthetic across your entire web application. And you'll be able to import and use that theme, whether it be manually created or created through our theme builder, directly into Telerik Reporting, where it will get adopted by the report viewer.
Yep, yep. All
And
right.
we'll have a great demo for that in a little bit.
Sure, sure. I see a lot of questions come in, but let's go through the list a little bit more. We'll try to answer all of those live as well. Now, GraphQL, this is very, very popular in terms of very complex, nested, and connected data. So what's the story here? What if I have GraphQL data?
Sure. So if you have GraphQL data already and services up and running, and you want to bring that into reporting, in our Q1 release, we added the ability to do that directly. But you had to actually write the services, the connections and the parameters of the body yourself. What we've added in Q2 is a very simple click-through wizard for creating GraphQL data sources in your report. And I'm a bit of a traditionalist. I still, my happy place is still transactional SQL. So anything that makes, some of these new and scary technologies easily usable by someone like me is definitely appreciated.
Yeah. And I mean, it sounds like you get to visualize the data as well before you bring it in. So the wizard kind of steps you through, like, here is the chunk of the data that you're trying to pull out, and here are the relationships.
And the preview really just gives you some confidence that you're doing things the right way.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. All right. What if I needed mapping support? Because, like, reports are, of various types. Maybe it's, global usage of my product, or if it's, seating charts, or whatever type of mapping support that I need. There are lots of providers, but what else can you do with me, for me?
Yeah, well, locational-based maps in reporting have always been, very popular and very well supported. So location-based maps using tiles, things like OpenStreetMaps and Bing Maps have been handled very well. There's a couple gotchas around Google Maps and the way that they do their locations and geolocations. I'm not going to tune to the weeds on that, but we've recently added is the ability to use the Azure Maps with the map component in Telerik Reporting, and this is great because I believe that Bing Maps might be sunsetting in the next couple of years. So this really gives you another feature, another way to bring your map tiles into reporting. Um, and I've been doing a lot with Azure services lately. So having all of my services in the same place, in the same resource groups, and easily controlled is definitely something that I appreciate.
Yeah, and whenever I use like Azure Maps in my application UI, that comes with a lot of flexibility. Like I can change up API versions. Maybe it is one API for one app, it's a different one for a different geography, and also different types of languages that I can support on my map, so I can localize things better. So lots of flexibility with Azure Maps. So
Much more
we're happy
control.
to, yeah, much more control. We're happy to bring that to reporting. All right, I know you are a big fan of this. So walk me through, like, what if I had .NET Visual Studio based C Sharp reports in the past? Like, I'm a big fan of our, TRDP,
Mhm.
Telerik Report Definition. But what is C Sharp reporting? What is this that we're talking about?
Okay, so there's a bit of a backstory here, which I will briefly touch on. So, as some people who have been customers of telereporting for a while will remember, originally our report model were C Sharp or VB based reports created in Visual Studio. This is all pre .NET in the .NET framework era, supported by the Visual Studio Design Surface, which was originally I believe it was a WinForms created design surface in Visual Studio. So we built our entire report creation architecture on top of these services, and everything worked, splendidly. Um, as technology advances, as it will, we went to a more agnostic model where our report definitions were in TRTP files, which is basically just a fancy XML markup. Um, but we still supported the C Sharp and VB style reports in Visual Studio. Uh, Introducing .NET Core, and then .NET 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, now .NET 10, the design surface in Visual Studio is no more. So that left us in a bit of a difficult place where we didn't have the ability to open or convert those .NET Framework C Sharp reports into .NET C Sharp reports and have a visual design surface. The technology just didn't exist. And after several attempts of building something in Visual Studio, uh, it was not working in our advantage, and we decided to basically go our own way and create something from scratch that we have complete and absolute control over every aspect of its design. So that is the new C Sharp editing surface that's available for the standalone report designer. And what this does is it leaves the coding piece in Visual Studio where it belongs, um, and it allows the design surface to be in our standalone report designer. And those two will live together in harmony. Visual Studio will be responsible for the code, the event handlers, the overrides, and the building and compiling. And the design surface, the .designer files, which is a format of C Sharp, will be created and maintained in the standalone report designer. So this is sort of a harmony of two of our favorite technologies, and it is an excellent pathway forward for customers that were stuck in the .NET framework era with their C Sharp reports. We really want to encourage our customers to be able to modernize their applications. So with this, we're creating a path forward for .NET framework into the main .NET branches, and a pathway to convert your reports to a more modern architecture.
Yeah, well said. And this was a tremendous amount of work behind the scenes, engineering wise. So, kudos to our team for bringing this, together.
And I'm
All
really
right.
just scratching the surface on this feature. And I
Yeah, I know.
think, Sam, we're going to do at some point in the future, a dedicated Code It Live session where we
Sure.
dig into, all of the details of how this works and walk through, the entire scenario. We're just passing, over 30,000 feet.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so back to styling and designing my, reports. Yeah, maybe I'm the app developer and I have my way of styling my web apps, and my preferred way is Progress Theme Builder, where I get to bring in, Figma styles and prototypes, and then I get to customize all of my UI, and that's how I build my apps in Blazor, Angular, React, you name it. But then you come in and say, I want to make it look the same on my reports. How do we do that? So what can you tell us?
Yeah, we would touch on this a moment ago. So because the report viewers now have the ability to use our Kendo SaaS-based theming, any of your themes that are created out of Theme Builder will automatically be able to be applied to the report viewers. And really, it's a single line of code. I was quite quite shocked at how easy it was the first time I tried this when this feature shipped. Um, and with some of the new features in Theme Builder, particularly the AI-powered theming, which again, we must AI all the things now, we can really create a great system for quickly generating a theme, customizing it, exporting it, and loading it into your application where it will be automatically adopted and utilized by the report viewer.
Yeah, yeah, I'm a big fan of the new AI powered styling and theming. You'll see that in action in a bit. But what essentially this lets us do is have that unified UX between our reports and our apps. All right, so license compliance. So we did a few things, and we have a few types of licenses, but IT admins are almost always wanting to set things up right from the get-go. So can you tell us more about looks like a in wizard licensing key provisioning that we're doing?
Yeah, so the licensing keys are able to be easily adapted via Telerik reporting. So this is very seamless to the point where I didn't even need to think about my license key when I built my demo. I just happened to notice at some point when I was building the application in the console, there was a single line that said, license key retrieved, license valid.
Yeah,
I did absolutely no work. It was all handled automatically within Visual Studio and the wizard which created the report for me. So in the event where you do need to replace your license key, if you update your subscription, renew, and you get another year of upgrades, it's a simple matter to download the key and import it into the application using the built-in wizard.
yeah,
Or I believe that will also happen automatically when you update packages. It'll seek out, find, and apply the new license key.
right, right. So however it is that you're doing it, we want to make that as seamless as possible, so you're compliant. All right, and reporting is nothing new, but are you really going to be on the bleeding edge with latest .NET runtimes?
Well, I think it's on your slide right there, Sam. As of this release, I think we
Yeah,
have tested support and verified .NET 10 in preview. So again, day zero, no, day -1
they're
support
negative,
for
right?
the .NET releases.
Yeah, so .NET for folks, it has an annual cadence now. So every November we get a new .NET. Some are what's called the LTS long term support badge. Those are guaranteed support for 3 to 4 years, and then every other year we get other smaller chunks of .NET. But every .NET release is essentially a full release every November, and the work begins early in the year. So starting like February, we start getting previews. I think we're up to .NET 10 preview 4 or 5 right now. So it's going to be in preview mode for the next few months. Then we get into release candidate, and then finally a GA release. But it's good to know that whenever you are willing to switch up to the latest .NET runtimes, and again, what you gain is a lot of the performance tuning, like the same code, the same reports just run faster with more modern runtimes. So we are right here with the latest .NET runtimes trying to support you. All right. Now, Before we go into report server, I saw a couple of questions. Just so for folks who are new to this, if you are looking around how to get started. So this is Telerik.com, and if I go into reporting and dashboard, this is where all the details are. So this is all of Telerik reporting that Rick has been talking through. Take a look at all the features and how you get started and so on. If you are interested in what's new in this release, head out to our blogs.telerik.com, and we took the time to write up this one long blog post that tells you everything that's across Telerik, Kendo UI, Telerik Reporting, and Fiddler. It's all listed down here, so you can step into exactly which one you want to learn more, and that's going to give you more bang for your buck to understand exactly what's new in your product of choice. Okay, so I get it, Rick, all about reporting, but what if I want a turnkey solution? What if I don't want to do all the work myself? I don't want to have my own server. Just do it for me. Can you just do that for me? What's the report
Absolutely.
server?
For you, Sam, we'll do anything. So this is a very common ask. We mentioned an integrated product, but what if you don't have an integrated product? You don't want to build an integrated product, and you just want reporting. It's in my time zone, it's 11:30. The CEO says, "Hey, Rick, we need an enterprise-ready reporting architecture, and you need to have it done by the end of today, or you're fired." We have a solution for that. You can easily roll out Telerik Report Server. So what that is it's all of our reporting tools that we've talked about that we use and love, but it is wrapped in a proprietary enterprise tier application with everything from user login and role-based permissions provisioning, through export, storage management and migration tools, everything you need to roll out a turnkey reporting solution. And that's available in a number of ways. A MSI installer for on-prem, install it on your own metal. And as of this latest Q2 release, we have a new feature in the Azure Marketplace where you can just simply deploy automatically to a service, and that saves a great deal of time if you wanted to deploy something to the cloud.
Yeah, you're taking away my thunder. I had a slide
Oh,
for
I'm
you, but
sorry. I'm sorry.
we'll get to there. But Telerik Report Server right here, folks, is all of that Telerik reporting goodness that we talked about. So build your reports, design your reports, visualize your reports, but now you're adding the management of it. So I don't want to host this myself, or maybe I want to do it behind my firewall. So maybe I'm okay going to the public cloud. How about authentication and authorization? So role-based access. How about automating how you deliver your reports? Your CEO or your customers want to report Monday at 9 o'clock every week. So all of that automation is kind of built into what we call report server. So like Rick, you were saying, what's cloud deployment?
Yeah, and we'll just touch on what you just said, Sam. There are a
Yeah.
lot of reporting adjacent, or what I'd call reporting tertiary features.
Hmm.
Report scheduling. How about
Right.
report versioning? I create a great
Hmm.
report, and I let you go at it, Sam, and you make a big mess of it. I'm sorry, but so I need to roll it back, to the last version that I know worked. That's baked in as well. I can, undo your changes. I can see an audit history of everything that's going on, control user access, put reports in groups and categories. Everything that would go into an enterprise tier application is built for you. And because reporting is so agnostic as far as architecture, a lot of these things can't be provided out of the box in Telerik reporting because they come baked in with assumptions, right?
Right.
You have a scheduler. The scheduler has to have an agent running. That agent has to have some type of architecture. There's an assumption there. So we don't want assumptions in Telerik reporting.
Hmm.
So report server, we can make as many assumptions as we want. We're building the entire application.
Right. Okay. So once you have built it, tell me how I deploy it to the cloud.
Well, quite simply, I mean, this might have been a bit of a problem in Q1 unless you were good with containers, and how to write Docker files and maintain them. But now we've taken all of the work out of that with an Azure Marketplace item, which will simply walk you through creating a web application, and it will install report server automatically. It collects all the configuration options, and it will build everything for you. I will walk through that entire process up to the point where you would hit deploy, and then I'll stop.
Okay. Okay. Now, what if like this sounds like very, point and click. I just want to go, go, go. What if I want
Mhm.
some more control? Like, I want to have my own Docker images. I want to host them myself. So what can you do? Is there any help with images and how I get started?
Well, yeah, absolutely. So in order to support the Azure Marketplace deployment, we have built some very advanced, Docker images. There's actually three of them specifically. One dedicated exclusively for Azure, but there's two separate ones. One that actually sets up report server, and a second one which sets up the agent, which is again responsible for scheduling and other things that have to be, running resident in memory. Those are both available. So if you want to roll your own container into Docker or some other containerized environment, hosting environment, you certainly can use those images. They're publicly available to set up. So you can do that with either a trial or commercial license key and begin experimenting with report server in whatever type of environment that you want to use.
Yeah. And included in report server is the same licensing flexibility that we talked about. So it's all a unified approach most of the time. You don't need to worry about this. But if you switch from trial to a production license, like it's going to read the license file and your experience is going to be pretty seamless. And all of that is integrated inside of report server as well. All right, so we have talked for a good amount of time here. Rick, you want to show us where the rubber meets the road?
Sure, I've been waiting. So we always have a lot of fun, Sam, building these applications to demonstrate some of the features. Um, so I went ahead and built something incorporating some of our newest features for reporting, report server, and we'll go through some of them. Now, of course, the first one is always going to be, the main star is going to be the AI. So I have this is a .NET Core. I believe I'm using .NET 8 in this solution, .NET Core Razor architecture web app. This is everything you're seeing here is deployed to Azure. All front end and back end services are all running in the cloud. So this is a full cloud deployment of our solution. So this is really, I over-engineered this demo. It's enterprise tier in every way possible. So we have one of our sample reports here. I believe this is a sales report. And the backing data for this is again in Azure databases. And we have some different parameters at the right here. So this is a report we would have shown before in the past. And what I want to call attention to is this new icon here in the toolbar, these three little twinkling stars. So we'll open this and you get the AI prompt. Now, this is powered by, in my environment, by an open AI tenant also running in Azure Cloud, and everything is baked in. So this is all in my cloud tenant. I know that nothing will go outside those tenant boundaries. I can send any data that I want, ask any questions, and everything will stay private. So I believe you mentioned before the built-in prompts. So I have one that I've built in. So this prompt is always available when you use the AI wizard. You can custom hard code additional prompts or dynamically load prompts into this depending on your needs. But we'll try, the basic summarize this report, option. So we'll click that, click generate. It's going to go, to my AI tenant, utilize a couple of tokens, and come back with a reply summarizing what it sees in the report. So it's a sales summary report providing overview of sales for the month of July 2003, and it'll go through all the various sections and we'll answer questions for you and tell you what's going on in each section. This is really useful if you have like a 25, 50, 100 page report, just to get a quick blurb about what is happening in the report, what are the main topics. But I think the real utility here is the interactive prompts. So you can really ask anything you like about the report. So let's say, in what year did bikes sell the best? And it identifies the year as highest sales for bikes. And it's using the data here for $1,011, which looks like right around here. And that was the peak year in the sales report. So you can use the same thing for a different salesperson. You can change the dates of the report, or you can prompt, different questions. Let's try something new. Let's say, I don't know, Sam, give me a question.
Um, what type of data do you have? Like, it's just all products. Like, you don't have sales people, or maybe like, is there
Oh,
any seasonality in your sales? Like, are
okay,
there
we can
certain times it sells more?
yeah, we can try that. Let's see what it comes back with. So let's see, how am I going to prompt that? In which months
And
are
you do have employee names. So I mean, you could ask like, who's your best salesperson?
yes. In this report, it's all filtered to one employee, so it's always
Oh,
going
I
to
see.
say that
Okay.
David Campbell. But in a different style of report that has multiple employees, it will actually go and tell you, who is performing the best and break out and which ways they're performing. We did a demo where we asked the AI to predict which sales employee would get the next promotion, and it correctly analyzed based on sales records who would be the next to be promoted. So let's see. The months with the highest sales are July, October, November, and August. So
Okay.
it seems like summer months, people are buying more bikes. That would be
That's a
consistent.
surprise. Yeah.
Surprise, surprise.
Okay. So what's your plumbing behind the scenes to make this work?
Sure. So behind the scenes, the configuration is quite simple. So there's a number of different models and architectures that are supported. All you do is you bring in some configuration to tell it which architecture you're using. In my case, Azure OpenAI. You tell it which model you want to use. I believe I'm using GPT 4.1 mini, which is a very cost effective. I've been hammering
Hmm.
this thing in tests, and I've used less than 1 cent a day in credits with my AI. Um, so I believe that's a very effective, cost effective model as far as token utilization. Um, and then you just have to apply an API key, and there are lots of ways to do that. In my personal environment, I'm getting that key from a Azure Key Vault, which means it's safely
Yep.
locked away. It's applied at runtime. It's not anywhere in my Git repository.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
you cannot
No,
delete.
I think it's also good to mention here, like whenever we talk about, smart AI powered UI, or, we are doing, any type of contextual intelligence, while all of these AI models that you get from the GPTs, the Geminis, the Claudes of the world, while they are great, they are general purpose. Like, so a lot of enterprises, you might want to have your own AI model that you have trained over time, and it's very good at looking at sales data. So all this is a front. So you can plug this to your own service with your own API key, and then all of it stays within your realm of however you do business. So the flexibility is there for you to hook this up to anything that you want.
That's a great point, Sam. Yes, you can use your own model. You can train it. You can configure it to, I believe, train automatically based on the prompts that you send it. So over time, it gets more intelligent as it gets a context for your own particular sales data, and it's all behind your own firewalls. So you have to worry about any data leak.
Yep. All right.
So
Very
we could
cool.
we could yeah, we could probably spend the rest of the time playing with AI, but there was a good number of other features that we wanted to look at. So let's minimize that one for the moment. So we also talked about the SAS styling, theme builder, and lots of different things there. So let's show a little bit how that works. Now, I
Yep.
usually don't do theme builder demos, but let's do just a quick little show and tell. So this is Progress Theme Builder. It's going to create a new theme based on Bootstrap, and let's give it a very descriptive name there. Um,
No,
Now, anyone
while
who's ever
you Sorry, I was going to say, like, while you move off the screen, like, it was quick, but I hope folks noticed that you can start from any design system, like the materials, the Fluents of the world. Bring your design system, or if you want, if you're a big company, you have a lot of designers in house, and you have your own design language, bring that too, so you can customize.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I flew through that. I probably should have called out. Yeah, I'm using Bootstrap, as my base theme. I could have used default. I could have used material. I could have used nothing. I could bring something in from Figma. Really, there's a ton of configurability here. But the thing that I like, and the thing that's very handy for me, is that it's a WYSIWYG surface. I'm seeing in real time immediately all of my changes applied to all of the components in the Kendo library. I don't have to imagine or visualize, what this thing might look like. And behind the scenes, the report viewer actually uses our toolbar. So this is the component here, this toolbar that I'm going to be paying attention to when I do my styling, knowing that the report viewer is going to pick up and use this component. But I'm also not very, a great designer. So this AI generated theme, something that really helps me out, and something I played with this a lot. I've only used 24 of my 200 tokens in the last couple of days, just playing with different themes. But you can just ask it to build themes for you. Some of the interesting features, you can do light or dark mode, and there's this creativeness index here. I haven't quite pinned exactly what the creativeness does, but it seems like the higher you make this, the more imaginative the AI is on its interpretation of what you ask for. So
It has to do with the temperature. So like, how crazy do you want it?
yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of variability with creativeness on high. You can ask the same prompt a couple of times and you get a lot of variability. So let's just say, generate a theme with shades of green.
I thought you were going to make it Barbie themed and make everything pink. It's one
If
of my
you
favorite
if you
demos.
want, Sam, well, I'll use another token to try that next. I'm not sure if it
Uh,
will know what Barbie themed
oh, it
means,
actually
but
knows very well. Barbie, Star Wars, like all the
okay.
main things it knows very well.
Well, we'll give that a try. But yeah, so it picked a theme, shades of green, and if I run this a second time, it's going to be slightly different. These are the things it's looking for, border radii, elevation, spacing, colors. Now you see this one, it decided to make the background. I'm sure if that comes through on the screen share, but the background is a very, very light, green, and then the primary colors and hover colors are different shades. This is actually a very nice theme. I like this one. This is something I might use, and I'd say this will get you, as you play with it, a good way, like 80%, you think, Sam?
Yeah.
85% of the way there. And then you just use the inherent abilities of Theme Builder to do some fine tweaks. But if I can cut out 80% of my work, to start, I don't know why I wouldn't.
Yeah, it's a
Okay, so
start.
would you say generate a theme based on
And
Barbie
while you're doing
styles?
that, so the other thing you can do is you can select individual UI components and then go into an advanced edit mode. So with the
Mhm.
same styles, you can define, all the different things like what's my, visual state and how is this UI component going to look different in different visual states. All the little things you get to tweak with every single property of that UI element. And, once you're happy, like Rick here is with all the pink, then you get
Oh
to
yeah.
export it all out.
Yes. Yes, I'm gonna not turn this into a deep dive on theme builder, but yeah, we could play with this for a long time too. Yeah, the
Right.
advanced edit mode, you really go in here, you can click on the toolbar and now you can see, all of the elements in the toolbar and really control, absolutely everything. And you get the live preview down here too. But yeah, so I'm happy with Sam's Barbie theme. So I could just do export and export all, and it would give me a couple files, a precompiled CSS file and an uncompiled Sass file if you want to incorporate it into your CI/CD pipeline and build your styles on the fly. Really, both of those, are valid options, but the discussion of that we'll save for one of my more knowledgeable colleagues. So I went and used a different prompt to build a theme a couple of days ago, which I saved, and we'll go back to our report demo here. So let's go over to the updated report viewer.
BSG. I wonder what that stands for.
Well, we'll give 100 points to anyone who guesses before I reveal it. So I asked it, I gave it some prompts, and I did ask it about a particular franchise, and it got me pretty close. And then I applied a custom font manually. That's something the Theme Builder AI won't do now, is go find and apply a font. But in the Theme Builder, I was able to grab a font and apply it and utilize it, and pass all that through, and create a really nice toolbar and design aesthetic here in my application. Um, so, as we talked a lot about AI and, Telerik reporting for Q2 2025 now has AI. So how do we feel about AI here at Progress Sam?
I mean, we are embracing it, but keeping it real. That you have to have guardrails for enterprises.
Well, let's check. So we'll click on this. How do we feel about AI? And well, I, for one, Sam, embrace our new AI overlords.
All right. All right.
So anyone who guessed, this is a Battlestar Galactica inspired theme
Yep.
with a Telerikified interpretation of the Cylon. So we have to add a little fun, in these
Yeah.
webinars, keep people awake.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
this is real. I really just created all of this in a couple hours of playing around. But fun aside, this is immensely powerful. These tools to create a cohesive design story, across your entire application.
So let me ask you this. So if I'm building an app with, Blazor, Angular, React, and I want to style it, I go to Theme Builder and I export it out. And then
Mhm.
for you to style your reports the same way, like how much code is it? Like, is it in one place? What all are you having to change?
Sure. So the SAS-based themes will be applied to all of the UI elements that inherit from the Kendo libraries, or any of our SAS libraries, whether they be native, Blazor, Angular, React, Kendo. So that is everything outside of this white border here. So that's
Hmm.
the toolbar, the background of the theme builder, and any other elements that are going to be on the page. Inside of this white border, that is the domain of the report designer. So there, the report designer has control over the aesthetics of the report, and that will not get overridden by our SAS themes. And that's by design. The single source of truth for the report itself is the report author. So nothing in the report will be overridden by any of the SAS themes. So I manually applied the black background and the font and the colors in order to achieve the similar aesthetic. If I load a different report here, if I loaded our sales report, it would be the white background and it would look the same. And that's
Yeah, that
part of the
makes
pixel
sense.
perfect rendering
Hmm.
guarantee of report. Your report author is the person who decides what that report looks like.
Yep. Yep.
You want the report to look the same, regardless of how it's rendered, whether it's exported to PDF or Word, loaded in the viewer, that report has to look the same at all times.
Yep. Makes sense. Yeah, I mean, clearly Rick and me can talk about AI for a long time, but what else do you got?
Sure. So, okay. So we talked about AI and SAS theming and theme builder. So let's show the GraphQL a little bit. So I have a third tab here. This one isn't as funny, but this is just our web-based report designer. This is an immensely powerful widget that you can drop into your application. And it really is truly just a widget, nothing to really build or configure. But this enables a built-in web-based report designer for a complete design report design experience, in the web. Um, One of the things you have in the component tab here that we talked about is the new GraphQL data source wizard. So I'll open that and we get this nice pop-up here. Now I didn't happen to have a GraphQL data source endpoint available to me, but I found a public one that didn't require authorization. So I will use that. And this is provides a list of countries. So we'll provide the endpoint first and click next. Now the second thing you need for GraphQL is a query in the request body. And this is I believe XML format. So it's asking for countries and name. And we'll go next. A parameter isn't required for this endpoint, but if it was, you could add that here. And now it's saying, do you want to use real data every time you load this data source? Do you want to use fake data so you're not hammering your endpoint? Every time you iterate on your report, you can do that via file or add some embedded data. I'll just use real data because I'm only doing a sample. And then you get to preview what the data looks like. So you see the query here that gets expanded, and then the
Oh,
actual
nice.
results here on the left, on the right. And then if you are happy with this, click finish, and you have a new GraphQL data source, in your report, ready to go. So now you can just assign that, to uh, the report as a available data source, and start bringing in data from that source, like name.
While you're doing that, like I'm always impressed. Like I know we say this every time, like the complexity of report designing on a desktop canvas versus doing it on the web. Like I'm amazed that web browser has, have so much of ammunition to do all of this WYSIWYG type report designing right in a web app. That's amazing.
I'm really pleased that the feature set of the web-based report designer and the standalone report designer are converging, as we move forward. It used to be a little more work in the web designer just because all the tooling that was given to you for free, isn't available. But it has caught up so much in the last year that I can use either one interchangeably. And it is worth noting that anything you build in any report is completely cross-compatible with either designer. So you don't have to pick just one. You can start something in standalone, upload it to your website, have some users make revisions on it in the web designer, download it, make further revisions in standalone. So really, you can choose your best workflow.
Yep. I already saw your report with all the names that it's pulling from the GraphQL source.
Yes, I, uh,
Yeah.
I, I did that quickly. I didn't even
Yeah. No, no,
call
no. It's
call
all
out
good
to it,
then.
but
Yeah.
yeah.
It
So
works.
yeah, you have the data source here, so you can just drag it in. Really, click and drag. I don't like to write code if I can avoid it, and generate a report. I wasn't planning on doing any live report creation, Sam, but you talked me into it.
You're doing it. All
Okay.
right. Yeah. What else? You mentioned some deployments. Those are pretty easy now with the Azure Marketplace.
Yeah, so I think as far as this app goes, I showed you what I want to. So yeah, let's look at the Azure Marketplace and the Telerik Report server deployment. So I found this in the marketplace earlier. I added it to my favorites collection. Everyone should go do that immediately because this is going to be your favorite thing. Um, and then you will select your plan and subscription and click create. And what this does is it's spinning up, the virtual machine, and it's loading the image. And so now it's really just a click interface. So you can select your subscription, your resource group, um, configure your virtual machine, passwords, authentication type, um, you know, the type of architecture and the size you might need, virtual networks and such. uh, License here. You can paste your license key into this box, which is available on the website. If you don't include it, you'll just get some I believe watermarks in your application when you first load it. Provide some administrative information. Configure your mail if you wanted to be able to send emails from within report server. These are all optional if you don't want to. Storage. So here you can either use a SQL-backed database if you turn this on and provide a connection string, or if you leave it off, it's going to be used file-based storage. My personal recommendation, when you first roll this out, leave it on file-based, get it running, and then migrate to SQL later after you play with it a little bit. Keep the amount of moving parts small. And it can even generate a free Let's Encrypt certificate for you to use in your secure HTTPS communication. And then you get over to Review and Create and click the big green button, which is not available because I didn't actually fill anything out. And it's going to go through the process of creating your virtual machine, deploying the image, and creating the report server pre-configured for you. And after I think like 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes or so, you'll have an endpoint to log in and start using Report Server directly in your Azure tenant.
Very good stuff. Very good. All
So that
right.
definitely will save a ton of time if you want to deploy this to the cloud.
And then Report Server also has Docker images where you can have full flexibility of how you do it yourself.
Yeah, those are in the Docker marketplace right now. So anyone can go grab those and start playing with them. There's no sign in or anything required. Does fall back on the same license key, but commercial software. So you can use it as a trial, or when you're ready to commit, generate a license key.
All right, so this is a lot. Anything else from the reporting server side that you want to show?
Let's see. We talked about the design. We talked about GraphQL and AI,
And
of course,
theming.
and the
Yep.
theme builder we played with. There were a couple features, since we didn't do a big marketing push in our Q1, a couple features came out in Q1 that are noteworthy. So there is a
Do you want
user-initiated.
to pull up the web page as you talk through?
Oh, sure, I can do that.
So go to reporting and then the roadmap. I saw it list out everything in Q1 as well. Yep, so that's all the Q2 stuff. But then if you scroll a little bit down, there you get to all the Q1.
Yeah, so the backing part of GraphQL, was came out in Q1. The wizard that we just played with in Q2. But so one of the other noteworthy features is the affirmative preview for report generation. So what this does is it will give you the option to not load a report, when you land on a page that has a report viewer until you basically click the go button. And if you have a 3-page report, big deal. If you have a 3,000-page report, yeah, you don't want to trigger that rendering operation until you are sure that that's the report you want to render and that you have the correct parameters, supplied for what you want. I have enterprise customers that have reports, that generate, over the course of, 24 hours. So, you don't want to kick off those services until you're ready.
Right.
So that was a nice feature. We also have the ability, this was actually something that was asked for a lot, raw data export in reporting. So this will give you the ability to sort of just take the backing data that's in the report and export it, in a raw data format for use in any other secondary processing, data scientist, roles or anything you might want to use to take the data out of Telerik reporting and put it into some other type of analytics engine, for whatever reason. That was a cool feature. And the other ones were some caching and just some performance and templates and just some general improvements. But the noteworthy features for report server in Q1. So we had a new migration tool. So again, we definitely want to encourage people to migrate to more modern architectures. So we provided a migration tool from classic report server, which was built on .NET Framework, to report server.net, which is of course built on .NET. What you get with report server.net is the ability to deploy to Linux based tenants. So that will be much more cost effective than having to roll out a full Windows VM whenever you want to deploy report server to the cloud. And then there's also the data object layer of your application. If you have a .NET based object, you can consume that in a .NET framework based architecture. So if you wanted to use an object data source or do some business logic importing, you would have to be within the same architecture. So report server.net migration tools help make that happen. Yeah, and I think that was it for me, Sam, as far as noteworthy features I wanted to discuss.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot. But again, big thanks to the team that puts it together. The remaining 25 minutes that I got is all about Fiddler and Fiddler Time. This is one of our beloved tools that is used by developers in our everyday life. Like I use this every single day as I'm building apps, but it's also for your QA people. It's also for your support engineers, and it can also be for your end users as well. So let's take a quick look at where things are at, where we started. Just to recap where Fiddler is, it's a tool, but it can actually be quite a few different tools based on how you're using it. So it's all about network debugging, having full visibility into your network stack, use it as a system proxy or otherwise. The key thing here to note is it's for every type of app. So if you're building microservices or mobile apps, you don't have much unless you have a system proxy that can truly look into the network stack. So never ever be in doubt for all of your API calls. Fiddler Everywhere works everywhere on all on platforms. And it's also about teams collaboration. So work on API composition together, work on testing together. Maybe you have a middle tier team, maybe you have an API team. work on it together. There is a very, very robust rule building engine. This is what gives you the power of, fine tuning how your network behaves. Maybe on a certain authorization, you get to see this, or maybe on a certain API call, you want to hold back certain things. You want to fake a database call and so on. So you can do all of that, have triage support, have amplified teamwork. So that's where Fiddler really shines. A quick look at the portfolio here. Fiddler Everywhere is where we put all our energy these days. And, Fiddler Core is there as an embeddable .NET library. Fiddler Everywhere Reporter is kind of a desktop-based thing. Fiddler Classic has been there, but again, it's been there forever. Moving forward, it's all going to be Fiddler Everywhere for us. That's our cross-platform solution that works everywhere. So Fiddler Everywhere, again, like I said, it's for the developers in the house. It's for the QA people and the support engineers, for you to have complete visibility in your network stack, so you know exactly what's going on, and it works seamlessly with on macOS, Linux, and Windows. So a quick look at where Fiddler Everywhere is. It's a secure and modern web debugging proxy, works everywhere. You can read through some of the core features that we do bring. We want to be able to inspect every type of traffic, HTTP and HTTPS, but also every type of protocol that's in between. So is it TLS 1.3? Are you doing WebSockets? Are you doing any type of gRPC? All the networks that you can think of. Capture traffic, manipulate traffic, compose APIs, hit breakpoints, save it off as a filter, you name it. So that's where Fiddler Everywhere is at. So everything that you need is all in one place. It's a busy app because it's collecting everything. So we have tried our best to make sure the UI is clean and you know exactly where to go to look for your snapshots, your filters, your capture modes, and your manipulation modes, API composition, all of those things. So let's take a look at some of the newest things. So Fiddler Everywhere, as it stands right now, is at version 6.6.6 or 6.6.0. So a lot of changes happening fast, and we wanted to highlight just some of the key ones. So I'm a big fan of snapshots. So again, I'm going to open up Fiddler and show you this, but it gets a little overwhelming just how much it captures, because it'll capture everything unless you filter things out. And when I see something that I want to look at, I want to save it off so I don't forget that session right away while it's being captured. So the snapshot tree on the left-hand side is a perfect way. And now we are giving you very easy ways of adding things into that snapshot so you can get back to it. So you can save off a session. You can move sessions between snapshot groups or folders, and you're adding live traffic in there. You can compare multiple sessions that you have in your snapshot, trying to see why did it work this time, not work this other time, and you also get to share and collaborate on your snapshot. So big fan of the snapshots feature. Speaking more of that snapshot, now you can actually have a functionality called AutoSave, where you set up the rules and you want to say, like, everything that I'm doing for the next 2 minutes, I want you to automatically save it in a snapshot, or everything that I'm doing on this URL for this API, this app, I want you to save it off. So you set it up one time and then nothing else, you need to do nothing else. It automatically shows up and your snapshots refresh. You have those saved sessions and you get to organize it later on for, closer inspection. So it's a wonderful way of grouping things. You configure one time and then it saves it off automatically. So wonderful new auto save functionality. This is something we care a lot. So by default, we will work with any, authorized certificates, but enterprises often roll their own. So you have your custom, certified, certificate authorities, and that's how you're getting your certificates for your applications. We just don't want any friction. We don't want any interceptions, because we are not able to look at certain types of traffic because it's untrusted and so on. So now you can go into Fiddler and you can say, these are my certificates. And again, as an admin, you also have managed configurations mode in Fiddler, so you can dictate exactly which certificates you want, how you want distributed, which apps use what, and so on. So again, full visibility up front. So you are, as a developer or as a support engineer, you are never guessing if some traffic has been blocked or so on. So custom certificates are very, very welcome. Which also brings us to VPNs, because this is how a lot of our IT departments like to lock things down, and you often have to go through a VPN to get to some of the sensitive stuff, and that's totally fine. We just want to make sure you are telling us that upfront. And again, IT can set up your Fiddler accordingly, just to bypass any conflicts. Any of the Cisco VPNs that you're using, they're all, well-known URLs. So we can go off what your company URL is, and you can see it up front that it's trying to bypass everything, or making sure that it looks at that particular certificate within that VPN to give you that full HTTPS encryption and decryption that you're looking for. So we are trying to be very conscious of VPN traffic and how we work with that. Moving on, let's just face it, a lot of you are power users, right? Not like me, who is tinkering with a mouse and a keyboard. Yeah, well, I mean keyboard at times, but I'm mostly using Fiddler with my mouse, which is not enough for power users, and I get it. So keyboard support, we have worked on this quite a bit. We have had some things in the works, but we have actually refreshed and reworked all of it. So we have been very thoughtful and logical in how we have this keyboard support. So you can think of it as an inclusive feature, but it's also a productivity thing, because when you are in your flow, you want those quick shortcuts, right? You want to just hit some buttons on your keyboard, and you know exactly when you're capturing, what you're capturing, where it's going. All of those can be automated. So we have tried our best to not have any clash with any system shortcuts on macOS or on Windows. So you can move through without any interruption. Most of the common actions and flows are nicely covered with keyboard shortcuts. So again, if you're a power user, you will feel right at home. Moving on to auth, again, like so much of our traffic and network interactions and API calls these days have to do with authentication, right? So you're carrying header information, you're carrying tokens, you're carrying keys and other things when you're calling cloud services. So you want that flexibility, you want that visibility to look at what exactly is it that you are inspecting, what's the authorization and authentication like. So there's a dedicated auth tab now in our inspectors. So for every session, if there is any authentication that you're carrying back and forth, Fiddler is very happy to show you all of that. So as a developer, you get full flexibility to see what exactly is it that I carried. Why did this call work and the next one failed? So let me inspect and debug my tokens. Let me look at the the headers and the authentication flow. Let me look at all types of API calls that I'm making with or without authentication. As a developer, sometimes what we want to do is make sure our authentication truly is working. So have other people in your company test out your API stack to make sure nobody's getting in when they're not supposed to. Again, test out their authors, those authentication headers and tokens to your heart's content, so you exactly know how to troubleshoot things and why are things working, why are they not. Okay, so let's go back here and let's move on. Rules. This is one of the most powerful things that I think Fiddler Everywhere brings to the table. This is what gives us that full flexibility of how do I work with specific things. What do I want to block? What do I want to allow? If this happens, I want this other thing to happen. So all of that is encompassed in our rule builder. And we have kind of redone how the logic of how the rules come into play. We have also reworked the UI a little bit. So everything is new and polished. And it gives you that predictable and consistent behavior. So if you have certain conditions, sometimes you get into like a race condition. It's only matched once now, once during the request or during the response. So we're not overdoing things multiple times during a quick session. And rules execute in order. So if you have like 5 rules, they will be executed in order. You can move things around as well. Like the next slide, I'll talk about how you can group your rules. But again, rules will consider what has happened previously. So sometimes you might have a little bit of a conflict. We are going to be upfront in telling you that, hey, look, you're asking for this thing to happen, but the rule before has kind of precluded that to not happen, right? So we'll be very clear with our warnings and notifications, and how you build your rules. That UI is also nicely refreshed. You can drag and drop, you can share rules. So like when Rick and me are working together, this is one of the best things we can share, because I have customized things to be exactly this, so I can have a clear look at how my application or how my API is behaving. I can share that rule with Rick, so he has the exact same viewpoint of how to look at stuff. So streamline how you manage and how you customize your rules. It's very intuitive to move things around, reorder, modify and organize your rules, and you get a nice, fine-tuned debugging experience. So rules are very well done. Now, along with rules, the other thing that really gives you that flexibility and visibility into what's happening across each of your requests and responses are two things we call timings and sizes. If you're concerned about your performance of your apps, this is absolutely critical to know, like what exactly are the things that I'm delivering to the client side, how long is it taking, and what's the size of things. So we have redone the UI a little bit, so now you have a full graphical way of looking at it, also a table textual way of looking at it, so you get the exact size of every data packet and the granular look that you want. What type of compression protocol am I using? Is something not being compressed? So you get visibility into that data transfer efficiency. It's particularly good if you have multiple sessions to compare. So you turn off JavaScript, you turn off images. What happens? What happens if your CDN is working or is it not working? So you get full flexibility of how to understand and track all of your requests and responses. So that's our timings and sizing views. Now, nothing a whole lot new in here, but we always, like to mention just the flexibility that Fiddler Everywhere brings to the table. It's for you to capture every type of traffic, decode and investigate every type of traffic. That includes a lot of different protocols. So HTTP is kind of given. That's how the web works. But maybe you are using modern webs, which is using HTTP2. So we got that support for you as well. You got WebSockets, you got server sent events, socket IO, gRPC, message pack, protocol buffers. So you name it. However you are building your apps and whatever application network protocols you're using for your apps, all of it is welcome. So you can take a look at everything within Fiddler without having to change context, because the network protocol, for the most part, for us, doesn't matter because we can handle everything under the sun. Okay, let's take a look, right? Show me some network. Again, I'm doing a live webinar and I'm looking at the right network as I speak, so it's always a little, scary, but let's face the wind. What's the worst that can happen? So as you can see, without me doing much, it starts capturing everything under the sun. So it knows who I am. So if I go back to my home here, it says, hey, some incremental things that you might want to set up. Do you want a browser? Do you want a proxy? Terminal access, any remote devices that you want to connect. This is something I'm particularly fond of if I'm doing iOS or Android development. That's cross-platform. I want to get into my rules. I want to set up my filters. I can do all of that. This is our API composition stack. So again, I can set up how I access my cookies and what my APIs look like across get, put, post, delete, you name it. All the verbs are nicely covered. But this is the network capture tab, and this is essentially capturing live traffic. And as you can see, this is where it's talking to Microsoft and Apple and Google and all the things that are running on our machine at any given point of time. It gets to be a little much because it's capturing everything. So this is where we always recommend that you start with some filters so you can look at exactly what you want to look at. So in here, you can say, if my URL contains this, then I want to see only that traffic. This is also particularly good if you're looking at like local host traffic, or you want to meet certain conditions, like show me only the 404s or specific HTTP codes. So again, set all of that up so you can only look at that and nothing else. Let's actually look at this really quick. Microsoft just did their Build conference, which is a lot of content for us to sift through and understand. So if I were to look this up and I see all of that content and I just want to see traffic for this particular thing, so I can go back into live traffic in here and I can say, show me only things that had build.microsoft.com, right? So maybe the filter was a little bit too aggressive. Let's clear that filter again, and let's try to see, just look at build maybe. Yeah, and now I'm getting some hits here for build 2025 Microsoft. So these are all my sessions. So once I'm looking at a list of sessions that I'm okay with, this is where I can right click in here and I can add things to a snapshot. So maybe this is one session that I'm interested in. I want to look at it more carefully. I want to look at exactly what happened with the overview. This is the timing and the sizing screen that I was talking about. The inspectors are all there. But before I get into that, I want to save things off, because this might be like, hundreds of sessions, and I only want to look at, 5 of them, right? So once I have things saved off, they all go into anything that you name. This is my snapshot tree. So let me come out of my live traffic and let me just say, only show me the sessions that I cared about. So I did that in the past, so it's now showing only the sessions that I had marked. So again, feel free to organize things here in a folder or have multiple, snapshot trees. And these snapshots can also be shared. So I can, share a snapshot with Rick and he can look at the same thing that I'm looking at. Once I'm in a snapshot, let's look at a particular request here. This is where you get to really see the benefit of the timings and the sizing. So look at this request and response here. This was HTTP2, and looks like this was just a handshaking session here, but it kind of shows you, here's how long it took like 32.34 milliseconds. This is the request, this is the response, and this is the sizing of exactly what happened during that response and that request. This was TLS 1.3. I can look at it graphically, or I can just look at pure numbers here. So a lot of flexibility in terms of how you look at the sizing and timing. So again, if you are concerned about your application's performance, like a certain page is stuttering a little bit, take a look at this in the timing and sizing. It's going to show you exactly how much of the packages and the JavaScript and the images that you're delivering, and how you can fine-tune things a little bit more. In there is also your inspectors that shows you all of my headers and everything that went on in my parameters, any cookies that were delivered from my website to me, or the other way around. If the website is reading stuff, I can look at the raw feeds as well. Now let me show you one other thing here. This was an Outlook response that I did, and this was trying to look up my emails, and obviously in there is some auth. So you can see, like, this is some authorization headers. These are the tokens, that the JW tokens that are being exchanged back and forth between Outlook and me. So again, this is completely unencrypted, but I can look at it, even though this is HTTPS, I can look at the full body of it, the request and the response that went in. Here's another one. This one looks like it was just a auth token, just a header token that was carried back and forth. Could have been like a subsequent call. So again, this auth tab is super helpful because it gives you that immediate look that you want in your request and responses. Maybe you want to try with or without authentication. All of that is very nicely laid out for you. So again, snapshots, this is a great way for you to organize things and put it away in a tree for later viewing. Once I go back into live traffic now, I can also set this up into auto save mode, where I can say every 5 minutes or every 1 minute, or whatever I do for the next 1 minute, save everything, save only the headers. Or I can also filter it. I can say only the ones that I'm doing for this particular URL, only save that and just forget about the rest of it. So then it's not going to capture, or it will still capture, but it will only add those specific filtered sessions into your snapshot. So wonderful way of looking at things. Okay, so we talked about all of that, and let me show you one or two other quick things here. If I go into Fiddler Everywhere and in our settings here, this is where the certificates come into play. So if you have trusted certificate authority certificates that your enterprises are using, add them in here. You can import them in here, export them out. So Fiddler knows exactly what certs you're using that it's going to use to encrypt and decrypt HTTPS traffic. In terms of your connections, this is the common port that it listens to, but you can change it up. This is where you kind of get to see some of the VPNs. So like when I'm on my own VPN, which is this, it knows that it needs to bypass everything so that it doesn't intercept or get into any friction in terms of which URLs you are hitting. A lot more things in here in terms of live traffic, composers, they all have their own things, and then browsers, you can have your own Chromium-based browser. If you have restrictions, you cannot use a system proxy, you can still go around that. And theming, you can do light theme, dark theme. So again, take a look at all of this. It's all set up for you to have full flexibility and announce your certificates right up front, announce your ports and your bypass URLs right up front. So Fiddler is here to help you be more productive, and all of your auto-saved sessions will start showing up here once you do. And again, it's here. Use it as a system proxy, use it as an inbuilt browser, use it within a terminal to have commands and have more flexibility maybe in your CI/CD pipeline. So however you want to use Fiddler, it's here to help you with your network layer. All right, so that was a lot of talking, and I have like 4 minutes left. So let's go back in here to where we started, and hopefully you can see that we are here to enable all of your network needs. Let's look at a couple last things. First is the team really wants to know your feedback. So we are looking at open issues all the time. So that's our GitHub repo. So you can go in there and tell us what you want to see next, or if you're having any issues, use the support forums, use the support ticket system, or use GitHub issues. Coming up next, we have some network capture adapter mode for Windows, which is going to give you a nice standalone way of not always using the system proxy. If you are using some sort of a reverse proxy, which is true for some new ASP.NET type web applications, you can do that, and a lot more things coming as well. So the roadmaps are well published, so you can see what we are working on for upcoming releases. So just talk to us. We would love to know what else you want to see. Thank you all so much, for spending an hour and a half with us. The teams really, really appreciate us. Hopefully, Rick and me are able to do a little bit of justice to the month's worth of work that goes into each release. So thank you to our teams, and thank you for folks answering the questions. And for all of you, we appreciate you all. We hope that you see that with reporting needs and your network debugging needs, we are constantly investing, trying to make you more productive, trying to give you all the tools that you need to light up your enterprise workflows. And hopefully this has been beneficial and productive. We'll see you on the next webinar. So thank you. Thank you from us. That's it. Bye.